Good evening. It's the East Lyme Board of Selectmen meeting. This is a special meeting. Today's date is January 22nd, 2019. If you all please rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This being a special meeting, we have a limited agenda tonight. We'll follow it precisely as that's the requirement as well, right? So, any public delegation or anyone would like to speak to the Board of Selectmen this evening? From the public? Anyone at all? Last time. Anybody? Okay. Then we'll move to the business at hand. This is the discussion and possible action of the public safety complex. This is a historic night. It's been a little while since the town had a proposal for a public safety building. In fact, it's been about 14, 13 years or so since the last proposal came around. Police are in a temporary facility, and, well, we know that story. We put together a task force. It was headed by Tom Gardner. He is recovering from a heart situation. If you hadn't heard, I've announced that at a couple forums, but I don't know that I fully told the Board of Selectmen. So Mr. Gardner is home convalescing, I guess we'd say, and two able members are here tonight who will give us a very brief overview of the public safety proposal. Dan Price is the Police Commission Chairman, and Mark Powers is also on the Police Commission, but also a member of the task force, as well as a few other things around town. So, gentlemen, you have some brief remarks, and then we'll get into some discussion.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So what I thought I would do really quickly, rather than reinvent the wheel, is just go through the packet that you have, which consists of slides that we have shown to the public, which are on the website. Basically, it's everything that was in the last two public information series that we did. So I just thought I'd walk you through them very quickly. The first page just goes over the deficiencies of our current building, which I think we're all pretty aware of as far as everything from leaks. The building itself physically is in bad shape. The building is not set up to be a police department. There's myriad of reasons why they really need to get out of that building, which, as Mark just said, was temporary for the last 14 years. Several slides of just the major issues of the building, which we're all aware of. One of the main problems of that building is it is within the 2-mile radius of Millstone, so if there ever, God forbid, is a problem with Millstone, that's one of the first places that would have to be evacuated is our police station. The consolidation of agencies in the new building is important. We would consolidate the police department, the dispatch department, emergency management, and fire marshal's department in that building. One of the big questions about the Honeywell building has been the location. And if you look, there's a couple slides here that show that basically to get from the Honeywell building or our current PD to the high school, this was done in December, but it's essentially about the same amount of time. There's a slide here about distance evaluation from our current PD versus the Honeywell building. Some go up, some go down, but they're all about the same. Our police department is behind this building. They don't feel there will be any degradation of service by locating it in this building. Many other towns have their police departments right on the edge of town. There's a list of those as well. There will be a secondary access that will go to our town field services building, which will help as far as they can just pull right out there for service, gas, and whatnot. And it is also a second way out of the building, out of the property. There's a brief analysis of some of the other police buildings that have been built within the last probably 10 years as far as and how much that costs, a cost analysis of cost per square foot. One quick slide of, right now we're looking at roughly $6 million. If we build, it adds another $5 to $6 million onto that price tag, if that's assuming we have town land. And the last slide just shows the debt from current debt for the town. The blue in the middle is with the addition of the schools, and the yellow is with the addition of the Honeywell building. I thought probably it would be more productive if we just answered y'all's question.
Well, I'll just add a point or two if I could. First of all, thank you for having us here. I think you're all familiar with this proposal at this point. The Police Commission and now the task force has done, we've done our best to reach out to members of the public, and we've had some excellent feedback from them. That's all been incorporated in this. But as you know, this is a very time-sensitive project right now. We're very fortunate to have had the Honeywell building actually become available. And through the efforts of the first Selectmen, and I know the Board of Selectmen, we have an exclusive, but that exclusive, we understand, runs out March 15th. So we've been doing double time, trying to make sure that we cover all the bases and most importantly, listen to the residents of the town. But there is a time restraint here that we have. So we are especially appreciative of you putting together this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen and listening to this. And we're here more than, as Dan said, more than anything to answer your questions. The Chief of Police is here also, and just open it up to you.
Thanks, gentlemen. We've been at the forums. We understand. We've also, I'm sure, done our homework as far as the Q&As and the town website that has featured these slides, many more slides, lots of information. It's been out there. We understand the need. Being the Board of Selectmen, we also inherit the responsibility of keeping our citizens, our town employees in a safe environment and a healthy environment. Our current situation doesn't either. Are there any questions for the committee before we turn it into discussion?
I think that we'd like to ask the committee representatives to stay, and that as questions came up from us, if they would be available to answer those and participate in the meeting.
By all means.
As they are here to address and inform us. Normally, we don't have discussion with the audience during the meeting, but this is an exception, I believe, as they're here to provide information for us.
Right. So, unless there's direct questions right now? So, yeah.
I have one for Chief. This might be good, or Dan. Do you know of any other police department that is not manned on a 24-hour, for a full-time police department that is not manned and staffed by dispatch or something on a 24-hour basis? If you could come up, you have to.
Gentlemen, how about if you sit up here at the table, could you move the chairs to the side? Join us, yes.
I believe currently the only situations that are similar to that are East Hampton, which is currently building a new facility. Their dispatch is done by an outside agency. So that is one that does not, but again, they're in the process of construction of a complex with the new town hall. So I think that is one agency that does not have that. But other than that, they all have 24-hour staffing. Almost all cases are the dispatchers, are the people that greet at the window and in the lobby for people that are coming in.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder, Mr. First Selectman, if you could share some thoughts with us, because you've been privy to some discussions with the commission, the police commission, that we have not been privy to.
Sure.
Okay.
I was hoping to speak less tonight.
Well,
But no,
you could prompt us with some questions.
I know, it may be.
With new information.
We are, some people have asked why now, or how come we've let the building go so long, et cetera, and not put the money in. We haven't put capital money into the building so much. We've changed some things around. We changed doors around. We went independent. We had to firm up some of the building to go independent, so it would at least get minimal grades, and it received narrowly minimal grades to become a temporary police station for an independent police force. But we knew we had to put capital into that building. And over the last year to 18 months, we've seen a real not depreciation, but real diminishing deterioration is the word I'm thinking of. Thank you. That's why I have a deputy. Deterioration of the building. Systems are like failing all of a sudden, all at once. So you know, and I've gone through it with you, that the air conditioning system failed last year. We repaired it a few times, but it is continuing to fail and needs to be, and we knew this, needs to be replaced. The generator, we worked in the dark. Well, we didn't work in the dark. We had a police station that was in the dark. No phones, no computers. And thank goodness we didn't have someone in there interviewing a witness or a suspect at the time, too, because that's a dangerous situation. Public safety buildings can't not have power at all times, especially when there's emergencies. But this was just typical of Connecticut losing power during a lightning storm or something last summer. The roof, we've put a lot of money into the roof. We even have this year $60,000 to patch the roof. It wasn't to replace the roof. That would be well over $100,000 to fully do a flat roof over that entire building. But we had put money aside for the roof. And we have not spent it because this opportunity availed itself, so we wanted to give it the full run. The parking lot's been a mess, but we don't dare touch the parking lot because we also have what we know is some a brownfield situation in the ground under the parking lot that we have pre-qualified for a brownfield grant, but we wouldn't be able to be in the building nor use the parking lot when that's being remediated. That would be using state funding. This has been going on and on. We have 23 police officers working in a facility that space needs analysis, industry standard, would say even that you need several more thousand. 15 for the, right, and we have 7,000, thank you. So this facility will have fully $15,000 for police. It will have another $5,000 for the combination of EOC, emergency management, and dispatch. No, I did that wrong, right? Emergency management, fire marshal's office, and dispatch. Those three will take up the other 5,000 square feet, and then there'll be 8,000 to 10,000 square feet available from future municipal use. We talked about the process. We talked about, well, how's this all going to happen? We're asking for $6,000. We brought Brian Humes, the foremost expert in public safety buildings. It's why God put him on earth. This is what he does. It's all he does. His partner is Jakunski, and he builds schools. So the two partners have done a lot of work in our town. Brian Humes walked the building, looked it over, understood the features, the benefits, the pros and the cons of the building, and came up with a range, but a number, $3.2 million to renovate. Until we do a full-on, deep-in architectural review, then we'll have a kind of a, I call it a grocery list of the items that we can do and what the cost will be. That would we would prioritize them. We might not be able to get to everything, but we will fully be able to move into that building and realize the potential of that building housing those three departments, 4 departments. The town needs space. Town hall, the ELCC, community center, library area. We need space. We're gonna need space in the next 50 years. This solves a lot of that problem. This is not an opportunity we anticipated. Mr. Salerno, you sat in those meetings with the school, with the vision committee. I know members of the finance committee did too. We always talked about a police station. The number was always $10 to $12 million. When we were talking schools, 68 million and 85 million before that. We knew that this was going to be, we didn't think we'd get the schools passed, first of all, but when it came down to a $38 million school project, and a good one, as many of us were able to tour the buildings last week, we knew that this was going to be on the heels. We knew that this was coming up. Frankly, it's on our capital plan to talk about it next year. This opportunity presented itself. I think the paper is quoted as saying it's an opportunity almost too good for East Lyme to pass up. It's getting into a building that would be bigger than we would pay, than we would build. Like, if we were going to build one, we might build just a 20,000 square foot building. It wouldn't solve our municipal needs. We'd still have that wing on the library that is in our capital plan that we'd have to plan for in the next several years. We still have space issues, problems here at the town hall. A 20,000 square foot building, $10 to $12 million. This is a $6 million solution to a problem that's really lingered well beyond this 15 years. It was a problem when our police were in the probate court building, crammed in there for years. And, it eventually bubbled to that point that Mr. Frazier came up with a plan, and then Mrs. Hogan came up with a plan, both failing. But it was a problem. And so this goes back a long, long time. This town has never spent a dime on a public safety facility. We have a 178-year history, and we've never spent a dime on a facility. We've spent a few taxpayer dollars fixing up the graciously donated building, and we were grateful for Dominion stepping up and giving us a temporary fix of 3 or 4 years. Nobody thought it would last this long. This opportunity presented itself when the architect went in and said, "Oh my God, what you have here is almost perfectly set up." And it really is, where 2/3 of the building is office space and 1/3 of the building is raw space that we can create holding cells and evidence lockup and armory lockup, which is sorely needed. It's needed immediately. And it's a building with a newer roof and newer HVAC system and newer carpeting throughout the building. It's been well preserved. We're not going to be coming here a year or two from now saying, well, we got to update the building some more. It's a good facility. It's going to serve the town well, and I'm really disappointed that we have to do this, because it should have been done already. That we shouldn't have lingered for so many years, and having our police officers really working less than professional. We ask so much of our police officers, and it's getting tougher every day out there if you watch the news. We ask so much of them, but we don't put them in a safe and healthy environment, and that's been the history of this town. And frankly, I'm happy to give this opportunity to solve this problem. I'm only sorry that it took so long. I'm thrilled that we're doing it for half the price. I think that's a good way to start.
Okay, so since we had our last discussion, has there been anything that has changed? Any new thinking or anything?
No.
Okay.
No. There's members of the community that members of the Board of Finance have had discussions with that are bantering about another plan, another way of going about this. Suggestions had been brought up, but I know that we stand here firm saying we have a solution to the problem. Let's get it done and get it over with. The plan, Roseanne, maybe your question should be answered this way, that the process, as I envision it, is a $6 million plan going to referendum and passing, and the very next day putting together a vision committee on how to spend the allotted $3.2 million allowance to renovate that building. And maybe not all of it would be spent. If the committee can find ways of saving money and not putting everything in and don't need it or whatever, then it wouldn't be spent. Just like the school plan had millions of dollars in contingency that in this case, will be spent. But I would put 2 or 3 people from finance, 2 or 3 people from this board, 2 or 3 people from the board, the police commission, and then 2 or 3 members at large. Sounds like a big committee, but I think when you put very focused people at a table, you're going to get a good result. And I think that would be that many opinions that will bring the best result forward. So I would look forward to that. They would hire the architect. They would take those plans and decide on priority, what needs to be done, what doesn't, and then hand the project over to the building committee, who will hire the builder. And that's by town charter. The building committee needs to control the project, and they would do so by direction of the vision committee.
Okay, so Millstone has agreed that they would, I'm just confirming, Millstone has agreed that they would continue to have the town have control of the property. And would that enable us to sell that property?
Yes, and that's, we've been talking about that for a little while, and let's clear that up. Yeah, we, as part of our agreement is way back when, we were offered the purchase of that property, and because of the PCBs that are buried in the ground, the town didn't want to take on that liability. I'm not sure Dominion want to be stuck with it either, but such it is.
So they would give us an opportunity then to sell that for
Yeah. And
potential offsetting.
And we've walked
eventually.
that through with not only Dominion, but the Department of DECD and DEEP, who hand out this brownfield money and saying, okay, we don't own the property now. We would take control of the property. We would use state funding to clean up the property, and then we would sell the property for economic development on our main street. It meets every check mark that the two groups insist on when they're giving out brownfield money, which is one of those funds that is well funded through the state, because cleaning up polluted property, especially near the ocean, is kind of a top priority for DEEP.
All right, and our contract with Waterford for their facilities, their shared facilities, right now is at 50,000.
Less than that, 45, 46,
Okay.
47.
So roughly, and when does that contract expire?
July. July is it July this year?
2-year contract when we open, so.
I think it's
So
a
it's
3-year
July.
contract.
So we would not be
3
able.
years.
3 years, sorry.
So we wouldn't be able to recoup that money right away, or to stop paying that money right away. We'd have to negotiate with them for an extension.
With proper notice, I think we'd be okay with them. It's not, it is a legal binding contract, but I think there was an out clause in the contract, and we'd give them so much notification. Yeah,
So that would be roughly 50, or if we
just
have,
under $50,000.
if we have to renegotiate,
Yeah.
probably more. Do you see any other ways that we might be able to save money with, if we were able to move these other facilities into this?
Well, to the cost of maintaining these two very old buildings, the current police station is 88 years old, has electric heat, and windows that blow out candles, just a leaky air building all around. I would envision us saving some money on the utility side. I've already looked into solar panels on the roof. That would be a benefit to the town. It's a big roof, it's a big building. That would be some savings. It's also the savings in not just monetary savings, but the savings of time, and time is money. When you're talking about the chief of police, who's manages 3 departments in our town, one of which is where his office is on Main Street, but dispatch and the emergency operations center, which is on the other side of town, bringing everybody together, since they all work together anyway, is critical, not only just in everyday operations, but especially during emergency operations. It's important to have everybody together.
If I could speak to that too for dispatch. When an incident happens that would be considered serious, possibly a robbery or something like that, the first thing you want to do is get out information. And the problem I foresee we have it right now, you have information coming from the scene of the incident,
from the officer that goes to the dispatch, and then it's also coming from the police department at in another location. It's hard enough to get out accurate information to begin with, and I've seen too many times when you have too many locations trying to control an incident where something goes wrong. If you have an incident where the dispatch is where the police department is, the chief or the administrative sergeant or the shift supervisor is in there, he can go in and everything is much easier to coordinate. That's better for people's safety, officer safety, and, even from a liability standpoint. So that's one of the things too. And if I could ask a question possibly of the fire marshal, we need a generator anyway, Chris, correct? I mean, they don't have a generator sitting at the Honeywell building, do they?
No.
Okay, since we would be moving, if we moved EOC down there too, under this plan, would there be any availability of state funding to help purchase stuff for the relocation of our EOC? Because I see sometimes that, because the generator, we have to do it regardless, and if we could defray the cost of that.
Sure, we've
with
talked to
them.
Mike Catlett through Region 4. Part of our EOCs in our Millstone zone, so we'll get funding for EOC. Certainly going to look for money for grants for generators. We have some pricing for generators that run the building. I know we have Mr. Zellick, who's done the town generator and also the one at our building. It's just shy of under $100,000. But we can actively look for grants for generators.
The generator that's at EOC, that
Yep.
can be moved,
That
right?
can be moved. It's a 60 kW generator.
So that can be brought to the new police
Yep.
station, saving on construction costs and
It could.
renovation costs. It might not be enough for the whole building.
We could offset it almost what we do at the middle school. We have two generators there. One that
Yeah.
runs just emergency power,
Okay,
and then one that runs the whole building.
okay. Yeah, we didn't have that discussion yet, but it's the obvious
Yep.
thing is we're gonna be able to strip that building as we move over.
And we talk about regionalization. I think there's more opportunities as a whole to get grants. We're able to
Mhm.
disperse them evenly throughout the building versus now we're piecemealing stuff together, figuring out wordage on how to share certain items.
Hmm.
If we're all together, we start that process of regionalization. I know that's a big word everybody tries to use, but I think we're going to start it by ourselves, and that's where it needs to start first, is getting our groups together first.
While you're up there, could you just speak to you've done a lot of work last couple of weeks on the dispatch situation in the tower, because that's a critical element.
Yes.
If we're gonna locate to this new building and all our emergency operations is there, dispatch, EOC, police, all the communications, all the electronics, all have to get into a tower up and microwaved over to the
Yep.
other part of town. Tell me what you've learned.
Well, we had two companies come in. One company that we currently use is Utility Communication, and another company in Marcus. Give us two different ideas on how we can set up our dispatch center. Utility used the route of putting a 150-foot antenna out behind the building, where Marcus has actually come in and saying we don't need a tower. With today's technology, with the PSDN and state fiber, we really don't need a tower, they feel. So they've run some schematics, they run some of their tests and feel that it's the best way to go.
Some
It's
of the
a
selectmen
huge
might not know
cost
what
savings.
PSDN is.
It's a public safety data network. It basically ties all the police departments, fire departments together on a private network. That's how we get a lot of our information through, collect.
It's a
stuff like
private
that.
internet.
Yeah, it's a public safety internet
Right.
that we can communicate with each other. So talking to them, we can save a huge amount of money.
So we're talking, we can move the whole operation over for, is it still a 300,000 or did that number move a little bit?
It's a little south of that, I believe. It's about 250 for